What in the world is going on here? Well, let me tell you, it's party time, Mom. Welcome to another episode of the Chad Prather Show here in the mothership, which is Studio 22. We've rearranged some things because I want to talk to you today. Just going to be me and you in the quiet of this little studio, just you and me. I'm going to come in there and I'm going to blow your mind with some things. I'm just going to give you my opinion because the world's gone crazy. I mean, it's gone absolutely stark raving crazy. We are seeing just a big jumble of confusion out there in the streets and social media and on the news, and we don't know whether we can make heads or tails of it. Is all this stuff random, or is there an explanation behind all of it? Is there something that maybe there's an underlying force that's going on? If you watched the Chad Prather Show last week, on Wednesday night of last week, we talked about some of the controlling voices that have taken over and the things that we're hearing subconsciously, subliminally, things that come to us. And I know there were some of you who responded and you said, well, I don't watch television. I don't watch Hollywood. I don't watch, I don't watch the dramas, and I don't watch all these things. You don't have to. You can't avoid it anymore. You can't avoid it. Just yesterday, a friend of mine was in a Walmart shopping center, and a BLM protest announcement was actually played over the loudspeakers. That's where we've gotten to at this stage in the game. You can't avoid the voices. And so today I am going to break it all down for you. I'm going to do something that I can understand. I'm going to draw pictures, and I'm going to give you a full color diagram, and you're going to think I'm 100% completely crazy when we're all done with this. And that's okay. I'm willing to venture out on that limb. I asked Candace, the queen of the Ethiopians, just 2 weeks ago. I said, I've got some ideas. Do we want to chase them? Is that a limb we want to go out on? And she said, that is a pretty long limb. And I said, well, I'm willing to go out there if you are, and you won't see her on here. So now you know I'm out here by myself. It's just me and you, folks, on the Chad Prather Show, and I'm excited to talk to you. It's going to be a whole jumble of thoughts, but I think if we hang in there for this episode, we're going to be able to draw some conclusions, at least start some conversations, and maybe help ourselves to think critically on a complex issue of what we see going on in our world today. People are protesting. There's riots. There's looting. There's all kind of animosity. This is no longer Republicans versus Democrats. Now we have racist versus anti-racist. We have anti-fascists who are fascist against supposed fascists who are anti-fascists. It's a weird world, folks. Everybody's got a title. Everybody's at each other's throat. We're going to try to make some heads or tails of it. And, of course, we're going to have a special guest at the end. We're going to have my good buddy Rogan O'Hanley. You know him on Instagram as DC Drano. But first, let's sell some stuff. How about that? Brickhouse Nutrition. Now that America's opening back up, it doesn't mean that everything is okay. You still got to wash your hands. You got to social distance and all this crazy stuff. Just yesterday, the mayor of my town sent out a message on Facebook that was encouraging people, keep your masks on, social distance. Got a lot of interesting comments. Let me tell you something. You need to take Field of Greens by Brickhouse Nutrition. You need to do it every day. I do. One scoop is a full serving of real USDA certified organic fruits and vegetables. It boosts energy, supports a healthy immune system, plus a diet of fruits and vegetables can reduce your risk of heart disease, hypertension, a whole host of health issues. Field of Greens is prebiotic, probiotic, and a great source of vitamins, fiber, and other nutrients. Just put one scoop in a glass, you stir it up, and you drink it, and you're done. Tastes good, by the way. Right now, save you 15% off your first order if you use code CHAD at brickhousechad.com, brickhousechad.com. I love that website. Subscribe today, save an extra 10% every month. You can't control the world, but you can control your life. Make sure you're giving your body a fighting chance. Try Field of Greens today, brickhousechad.com. Go to brickhousechad.com, use promo code CHAD. Are you all strapped in? You buckled in? You ready to do this thing? Hang tight. We'll be right back. All right, folks, what's going on? What is going on? I sat there in the bed last night at midnight reading. Not unusual for me. And I shouted out, I go, holy crap. I didn't say holy crap. I said something else. It was a little bit stronger expletive. My wife heard me scream. She says, what's going on? And I said, I am so conflicted at this point. I have read so many different accounts of so many different things on this George Floyd case, of things that are going on in America, whether it's the stuff with another George Soros, or and just how that guy has become the scapegoat for everything, and everything in the world, we just make him an easy target. We just blame George Soros, right? I'm sure he is to blame for some things. Of course, everything's got to be Hillary Clinton's fault. Everything's got to be Donald Trump's fault. The CIA is crooked. The FBI is crooked. The NSA is it's all a horrible situation. This is all a setup. There's conspiracy theories. George Floyd's not really in the coffin. I mean, there's all kind of crazy things I'm reading. I'm reading the perspective of inner city people. I'm reading opinions pieces from blacks. I'm reading opinion pieces from whites. I'm reading stuff from the far left, stuff from the far right. And at that stage in the game, I'm thinking they're all convincing. They're all convincing. They all make compelling arguments. And I know that in your mind, you're all sealed up and set. You've got all your decisions made. I'm sorry. I'm not at that place. I am not at that place. There's a lot of questions that are out there. But I want to show you what I think is going on, because it's not new. What's happening today when you flip on the news is nothing new. There's always been a pattern, and they're following the same pattern. It's just a little more extreme. So I'm going to move over here to the marker board. I'm going to play Glenn Beck today. Obviously not as good as Glenn. Coming for you, Beck. And I want to map out for you. Y'all can check out that Sweet Country Apple. I want to map out for you guys the major players in this game that are going on right now, okay? Who are the major players? What are we seeing? That, I think, we can all agree with, all right? The first thing that we have the power brokers, all right? You got the people who are in control. You have, let's say, George Soros. We'll put a GS up there. And you know what? Let's let George Soros just represent any billionaire out there who wants to have political activism to a certain degree. And ultimately, it's about control, because that's what it's all about. The folks up here, it's not about money. They already have lots of that. They got to have something to barter with that's more powerful than money, and that is power, and it's about control. So you have your billionaires of the world. You've got your media moguls. You've got your Ted Turners, right? You've got these folks, and Ted Turner, you're like, is that guy even still alive? Yeah, he actually is. Dealing with some dementia now, but he's still alive. He's still very much active. Think about all of the climate funders that are out there, the Bloombergs. Think about all these guys. We'll throw Mike Bloomberg in there. I'm not putting any blame on anybody. I'm just giving you an example of who these people are. Then you have the certain foundations that exist. These foundations have a whole lot of money. Those foundations exist to fund their causes and their agenda. We talk about the Clinton Foundation, right? We know that the Clinton Foundation is all kinds of crazy. We've seen all kinds of crazy things that have come out of them. Any one of these things that are out there, they just exist in order to continue being power brokers. Look at what the Clinton Foundation, or at least Hillary Clinton, was able to do in the last election cycle when the DNC was basically broke. They didn't have any money. What did she do? She came along. In order to get the nomination, she bought them out. It's a whole big story. You can go back and read it if you don't remember that, but I'm sure you do. But then let's talk about some of the other power players. These are the people of commerce and industry. You have Jeff Bezos. You have Bill Gates. Think about it. You have your Richard Bransons. Somewhere he's on a private island out there hobnobbing with Barack Obama probably right now. These guys, you think they're just out there being big philanthropists because they're successful business people, but no, they have an agenda. For them, money is not an object. Power and control is everything. And sometimes these things overlap. Sometimes Bill Gates gets involved with his foundation, as we've seen in this whole COVID situation. And now Bill Gates, he's over here with his foundation, the Gates Foundation, talking about vaccines and all these different things. And you're listening to these voices, you're hearing these things, and they're influencing your life. Now, these guys want control, and these guys want power. These are the two barter systems right here. You know what gives them control? You know what gives them power? An actionable, kinetic event that happens in the world. Right now, we're talking about America. Event. It happens. A tragic event. Maybe it's a mass shooting. Notice there haven't been any mass shootings. In the last couple of months, there haven't been any mass shootings. Thank God there haven't been any mass shootings, but there haven't been any mass shootings. That's very unusual to me, especially since people are amassing themselves right now in protests. If mass shooters are just right-wing Trump supporters and white nationalists and all these things, well, you have a whole lot of black people out on the street protesting, massed up together. Why don't we have mass shootings? I hope we don't. Dear God, I don't even like saying that because I don't like putting it out there. But let's face the fact, we haven't had any of those things. It seems odd to me, doesn't it? But those are events that trigger the power brokers. Let's say you have something that happens like a couple of years ago, Ferguson. Ferguson happens, riots happen, protests happen, they start burning the town down. I believe that the Fergusons have actually just been a trial run to see how people are going to react in a major situation like what we're in right now today. So, you bring up the George Floyd situation. That's what we're facing. Tragic. What happened around it? I don't know. We haven't seen all the video. I know what we've seen is horrific. We saw a police officer murder a man on the streets of Minneapolis right there in front of everybody. There's no arguing it. But now we're looking at certain things that just don't add up. And I don't want to belittle the memory of George Floyd. May rest in peace. May God bless his soul. I don't think he's a hero. I don't think he's a martyr. I don't think he was a victim in life. He was not a great person overall in terms of his track record, but that's neither here nor there. He did not deserve what happened to him on the streets in Minneapolis. A lot of things we can get into right there, but that event happened. Now, we can go into a lot of things there. We can say that was a targeted assassination. We could say that it didn't happen at all. Maybe it was like, some people think the moon landing was all done on a sound stage out in Arizona. Maybe it did happen. Maybe it happened exactly like we saw it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because what it did is it set off the antenna of the power brokers. And the power brokers said, we got an opportunity here to get more power. So what happens whenever these events happen is you have folks who take to the street. That builds a wall between the power brokers and the general population. So here are your protests, maybe riots, demonstrations. I'll just leave it at demons. How about that? And then you've got your political agendas. Every time there is a mass shooting, now we're talking about the Second Amendment again, right? This forms that wall right here. This is that barrier. This is that thing that separates the power brokers and gives them more power from the American people. And that's what we're going to call this right here. This group right here, Americans. That's me and you. This is us. We have to watch this stuff. These protests, these riots, these things going on in the street right now, the things that are being brought to you in the news cycles, all of that right there, we're witnessing this. We're witnessing this. Why is this the power and control brokers connected to the protests? Why are they connected to demonstrations, riots, and political agendas? How do I draw that conclusion? Well, I can tell you point blank, and I don't know how this works, and I'm sure there's people in Washington, D.C. who can explain this far better than me. Somebody's funding this. Someone, somewhere, is funding this. There has to be organization. There has to be communication. There has to be orchestration. Somewhere out there, something has to be funding the protests, the riots, the demonstrations, the political agendas. Somebody has to do it. I mean, let's take a political lobbyist, for crying out loud. All of these things, these folks see a mass shooting happen. Guess what? The political lobbyists, they go into action. They start trying to enact more reform on the Second Amendment, and they start trying to twist the ears of congresspeople and senators. What's happening? Somebody's got to fund that. That's where your power brokers and your control people come in. All right? Here we are. We're the American people. We're just sitting here watching this. How are we watching it? Well, real simple. We got the mainstream media, right? We've got the CNNs. We got the ABC, the MSNBCs. We've got Fox News. We have all of these things that are out there, and I'll lump them all in there together. You've got social media, right? And in some cases, you have, let's say, Hollywood via tabloid, okay? That's your everything from TMZ, Inside Edition, whatever exists out there anymore, to the People magazine you see on the shelf when you go to the grocery store. So there's our major players right there. That's who you got. Power brokers, you got the people in protest, you got the American people who are seeing it, and we're seeing it through the avenue of the media. Now, I'm going to get into that. I'm going to break it down for you some more and show you what happened. But first, Patriot Mobile, let me tell you something. Democrats, media allies that keep making it harder for Americans to get out of this economic nightmare. Patriot Mobile is trying to help by lowering their prices even further. Right now, U.S.-based team standing by to design your customized family plan starting at only $25. Patriot Mobile shares your values and will never charge you hidden fees. And unlike Big Mobile, they won't send your hard-earned money to places like Planned Parenthood or other leftist causes. You get the same reliable nationwide service from Patriot Mobile. Switching's easy. You can keep your phone number. You can keep your phone. You can get a brand new phone. Just give them a call. Call them at 972-PATRIOT. Give them offer code CHAD. You're going to get free activation and a free gift. You can go to patriotmobile.com/CHAD. Get that family plan today, starting at $25. 972-PATRIOT. patriotmobile.com/CHAD. Hang tight. It's going to get good. The power brokers want to control you. The power brokers, they want control. They're trying to control the way you think, the way you vote, the way you spend your money, everything about you. They're using mainstream media, they're using technology, they're using Hollywood, all of that. Those are the voices in your ear. They're in your ear. You can't get away from it. This is 2020, folks. This is an election year. Donald Trump is up for re-election. Who's he running against? He's apparently running against Joe Dementia, all right? Joe Biden is out there. Joe is just a sad case, right? You look at Joe, and you got to feel sorry for him. I mean, you're like, what's his family doing? I mean, why is this guy running? I'll tell you why in a minute. So, it's an election year. The left has done everything within their power to get Donald Trump out. They've tried accusing social media of influencing the election by the Russians, Russian meddling, Russian collusion, $30 million on a Mueller report that turned out nothing. Then there was the Ukraine. There was a whistleblower. There was quid pro quo. There was an impeachment trial. Still nothing there in the Senate. They even ran with what everybody says, oh, Donald Trump says it was a hoax. No, Donald Trump realizes they're out to get him. And when COVID came along, he knew that was just one more thing that was going to influence the American people, because here's the power brokers who say, here's something we can use. This little known flu out of China, COVID-19. Oh boy, we got them now. We're going to isolate people. There's going to be mail-in ballots. There's going to be everything you can imagine that's going to get people away from Donald Trump. Now we can influence an election. Now we can do everything digitally. Now we can do everything mail-in. We all know that's a farce. We know that's an impossible process. You don't want election meddling, but you want mail-in ballots? Come on, man. Quit cheating with this thing. They see the COVID thing. We're going to isolate people. We're going to get them out of the Trump rallies. He can't have those anymore. They can't go to church. Can't go to gun ranges, can't go to the beach, can't do any of these things. They just got to stay home. They do all of this stuff until the American people finally start to wake up and go, you know what? This is a lot of BS. We're going back to work. You're crashing our economy. You're killing us here. More people are going to die by the effects of what you're trying to impose on us to keep us safe than they would by the actual virus. So we're getting out on this thing. That thing starts to come unravel. And so they say, you know what? We need something else. We need another ploy. Man, I'll tell you what, race always works. Race always works. That's a great tension. And somewhere out of the blue, a weird, mysterious video pops up with a lot of questions around it of a white cop murdering a black man on the streets of Minneapolis with his knee on his neck. Horrible. What if there was no video? We wouldn't know about this, but there is. And there's a lot of questions around those videos. There's a lot of videos that still need to be released. Am I denying that it happened? That's not for this episode. That's not for this episode. No, I'm not denying that it happened. But why did it happen? Why is the video there? Well, Why did it become a big thing? Why has George Floyd now had 3 funerals in a gold casket with tens of thousands of people? I mean, COVID, weren't we shut down? You can't go to the beach, but you can go to George Floyd's funeral. What's going on here? I don't understand. Well, let me just tell you, they're going to use this thing. They're going to use this thing, and you got the American people sandwiched between a media who's telling you one thing, and they're being controlled by the power brokers, and they're going to keep on fueling that thing, because let me tell you what happens with the American media. As long as this goes on, the power brokers get more power, and the media folks get more money. Here it is, because they know the money fuels everything, and as long as this narrative's out there spinning, man, they're going to keep getting paid. And it makes Donald Trump look horrible. Donald Trump walks across the street in front of the Secret Service from the White House over to the cathedral that they just set on fire in the midst of riots, and he takes the Bible and he holds it up, and the world goes crazy. How dare he hold up a book he's never read? This is a photo op. I can't believe they tear gassed protesters to make room for him to go across the street and get his picture made. This is the America we're living in, folks. This is the spin that the media has for us these days. A president of the United States stood in front of a chapel that just got set on fire by criminals, held up a Bible, and the world came unglued. Now we have people kneeling in protest. We have people who are demonstrating all kind of things, from having cops and National Guard and soldiers kneeling down while they're in their uniform. Give me a break, folks. We can't have these things going on. People are out here in the streets going mad. And look, the power brokers say, let's really get this sucker going. They start sending in those folks that are funded and orchestrated, folks like Antifa. Where the hell did these guys come from? Where do these little mini Nazis come from? Why are they involved in a black movement? There's peaceful protesters out here. There are peaceful black protesters that want a change in their community, and they want to see injustice undone. And now you have Antifa out there with pallets of bricks. They're breaking things down. They're burning things. They're flipping over cars. And then you have the bad element in the black community getting inspired by this, turning over ambulances, setting people on fire. It's gotten ridiculous, folks. And then BLM. Black Lives Matter is going to step in, and as a movement, they're garbage. As a political organization, they're pure garbage. They are anti-American. They're going to step in. Who's funding them? Well, got to make sure that the power brokers stay in control. Got to make sure that the media is getting paid. So let's make sure that we keep funding the people who are the professional rioters and the professional protesters. Let's send them in there. You say, well, there's a whole lot more people on the street. A whole lot more people on the streets out there than just BLM and Antifa and just a few black folks from the urban community. There's like millions of people out there. My 13-year-old son saw the news. He saw the news. He said, don't these people have jobs? Well, remember a little thing called COVID? Remember COVID? We all had to go home. We had to shut ourselves up, live in anxiousness, ready to bust out. Couldn't go to the beach, couldn't mingle, couldn't be with our friends, couldn't even have a barbecue. Everybody's ready to get loose. And they come up with this thing called a stimulus check. And suddenly people are making more money sitting at home than they are going to work. So rather than your George Soroses and your power brokers funding professional protesters, the American people are now funded to go out in the streets and wreak havoc. Now we're talking about things like defund the police, anarchy, demilitarization of the police. We're talking about a lot of crazy ideas, changing laws. This is bad. All because this is an election year? All because of Donald Trump? What's going on, folks? What do we do? Don't buy into it anymore. Don't believe what's being told. Remember, I told you last night, the issue is never the issue. You see this right here. You see the protests out on the street. There are good protesters. There are people out there with a real cause. There's real injustice, and there's a real voice with a real message out there. Support them. We believe as Americans in the First Amendment, the right to peaceably assemble. That's what we need to be doing. There is injustice in America. There are things that need to be worked on by you and me and every one of us. Right here, we're the American people. But the voices want the power. They want the control. They want your money. But more than that, they want your mind. Protect it. Heavy stuff, folks. I'm going to let you lean on it a little bit, okay? Let you lean on it. Hey, you're running a business, HR issues, they can kill you. You got wrongful termination suits, minimum wage requirements, labor regulations, HR manager salaries. They're not cheap. Average $70,000 a year. Bambi. I love them. B-A-M-B-E-E. Bambi, created specifically for small business. You can get a dedicated HR manager. You can craft HR policy, maintain your compliance. Offer is $99 a month. With Bambi, you can change your HR from your biggest liability to your biggest strength. You're going to get a dedicated HR manager. It's available by phone, email, a real-time chat. From onboarding to terminations, nobody likes firing anybody. They're going to help you. They're going to give you a customized policy that's going to fit your business, help you manage your employees day to day. Again, $99 a month. So give them a call right now. You can do it month to month. You can cancel anytime, no hidden fees. You didn't start your business to do HR stuff and all that administration. Let Bambi help. They'll give you a free HR audit right now today. Go to Bambi.com/Chad right now to schedule your free HR audit. B-A-M-B-E-E, bamtotheb.com/Chad. Be right back. Hey, folks, welcome back. You know, a lot to unpack, obviously, from what we've been talking about. A lot of things that are out there. You can take it or leave it. I mean, it's one man's opinion, and it's what I think about what's going on, and I'm sure there's a lot of folks that disagree with me. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I'm just putting stuff out there for you to discuss. I want you to have the conversation because that's the most important thing. If you're a patriot and you're on Instagram, of course, you're already following DC Drano. If you're not, I don't know what planet you've been living on. If I'm telling you, if you are a red-blooded American that believes in the Constitution and patriotism and the Second Amendment and just all the things that matter, DC Drano. Rogan O'Hanley is joining us via Skype today in Tampa, Florida. What's up, buddy? It's good to see you, man.
Great to see you too, Chad. Always a beautiful sight. See a handsome man like you in that cowboy hat.
Last time we saw each other was at the TPUSA event back in December. We were at Mar-a-Lago, and I was in the tuxedo, and I wasn't wearing a hat, and it was great because I could go incognito wherever I wanted to go around Mar-a-Lago, and and I'd just be hanging out with people that knew me I thought they knew me really well. And they were like, oh, crap, that's Chad.
It's a signature look. When I shaved my beard, you know, people revolted. I think I lost like 1,000 followers. So.
No, dude. When you hit 1 million followers on Instagram, and I was seeing they did the cake for you, typical liberal, and all those guys did that, and I was like, dang, look at that handsome man. Wow. That's impressive. I didn't know all that was hiding under there. You know what? I don't look. I can be just like our buddy Brokeback Patriot. I can do that too. Wake up every day with all your options open. Rogan, I want to know, man, what is your take? All this stuff that's going on. What do you think? First of all, the foundation of this. We heard Candace Owens the other day. She came out. She said, "Look, George Floyd's not a martyr. He's not a victim. He's not a hero." She caught a lot of flack for that. She's a friend of ours. We love her. God bless her. She's very opinionated. We know that. And people listen to her opinion. But what do you think is the underlying thing going on with all of the situation? Do you have just like a full opinion on what is drawing everybody to this man, George Floyd, and ultimately this situation and crisis at hand?
Yeah, I think the footage, I mean, it was very clear, crystal clear that what happened was wrong and it was murder. Yeah. And frankly, I would say well over 95% of the country agreed with that. The police officer was fired and charged with murder all in the same week. Mm-hmm. To me, that is the system working. I don't know how it could work any better. And then, there were rightful, there was heartbreak, there was mourning. The public, many of them took to the streets, and that's all well and good. That's their constitutional right. Frankly, I agreed with them, with the peaceful protesters. But then things went off a cliff, and we started to get riots and looting and assaults. And the worst part was mainstream media, Democrat leaders, they pretended like it wasn't happening, or they encouraged it implicitly. And that, to me, was, frankly, un-American. And, we're starting to see these Antifa thugs finally kind of coming to the mainstream. People are seeing who they truly are. These black mask, far left, violent, literal communists advocating for the overthrow of the U.S. government. So what it has turned into is an anti-Trump, anti-capitalism, anti-police, anti-America, organized, orchestrated violent riot. And that's where we are today. And that's why I fully support tougher law and order against these felons and domestic terrorists in some instances.
So, I live in the Fort Worth, Texas area. 50 people were arrested just last week for riotous activity, and they dropped the charges. What kind of message do you think that sends? I mean, this is Fort Worth. That's as red as it gets in most cases. Mm-hmm. What message does that send to those folks in America that would have that mindset to do those things?
Between people dropping the charges like that, with the media providing this very fluffy supportive coverage, with Democrats either turning a blind eye or completely lying about what's going on, people aren't dumb. Mm-hmm. These leftists, they see that as a green light. They see that as encouragement that we have support, even though they know. They aren't explicitly saying it. They kind of know. All right, these guys are on our team. Even Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton in their profile pictures, they have the black masks, right? And everyone's like, oh, it's because of the mask stuff with COVID that is pretty much not an issue anymore. But that to me is the implied kind of sign that the encouragement they're given to these people. And what we're seeing is when we bend the knee to these criminal elements, it doesn't appease them.
Yeah.
They're insatiable. There's nothing you can actually do for their forgiveness or for their end goal. Whatever you give them, they will ask for more. And so you have to draw a line at a certain point. And, letting people out of jail that were burning businesses down and, beating people in the street when, a month ago, they threw that Dallas business owner in jail for opening a business and feeding her kids. So people aren't dumb. They're seeing the hypocrisy right now. And frankly, I think it's building up a major, major wave of Trump support and law and order support this November.
Two things that brings up. First of all, you're right on that, because I said for 25 years, I say you're right because you agree with me on that. For 25 years, I said that they don't want equality, they want control. I said it about the back then, now it's LGBTQ. Back then I said about the homosexual movement. I'm not talking about homosexuals. I'm not talking about people who identify as LGBTQ or that's their sexual orientation. I'm talking about the political movement. That's a different deal. This is what we're seeing. How in the hell does Antifa get involved with a peaceful African-American protest over a man's obvious murder that was caught on camera? Where does Antifa come from?
That is a question that people in the federal government would probably be able to provide a better answer in terms of who is actually financing these radical terrorists.
Yeah.
They've been around for a few years. They're most prominent in Europe. And Europe Antifa is actually, I hate to say it, far worse than our Antifa.
Yeah.
They're a lot more radical. But it's an offshoot. And it's frankly the same playbook as we've seen in other dictatorial regimes in the last, in the mid-1940s. This is kind of the playbook. They attack innocent people protesting, that are peacefully protesting, and they call themselves anti-fascist when in reality they are directly fascist, right? If you look up the definition of fascist, it is using oppressive force to stifle dissent. That is literally what they're doing. And terrorism, frankly, using violence and threats of violence to control people's political opinions. So that is who they are deep down. It's a bunch of radical left socialists and communists. And, frankly, Trump declaring them a domestic terror organization was one of the best things he's done in 2020. In fact, in all of his presidency.
Yeah.
I've personally been on the receiving end of many explicit violent threats from them, but we can't back down to these idiots. They're only powerful in a group. They hide behind their black masks, and they're trying to overthrow the freest, most prosperous country in history. So we have to stand up to them.
Yeah, and I would lump in. You could say a lot of the same things about BLM as a movement, and I always qualify that. Do Black Lives Matter? Yeah, but as a movement, it's about control. But the second thing that your earlier statement brought up to me is, Trump comes out, he walks over to the chapel the other day, he walks over to the church that they'd set on fire, he holds the Bible up. Of course, they call that a photo op, and then all the Democratic Congress people come in there and kneel down for 8 minutes, 46 seconds. Nancy Pelosi, I don't know how anyone thought that was a good idea for her to, 80 years old, get on her knees like that for 9 minutes.
But I couldn't even do that.
No, I'm not going to do it, right? There's no way I'm putting my fat ass down there.
I'd be dealing with that for a week.
Yeah. I mean, and she was suffering, poor lady. But hey, dumb ideas. Democrats are full of them. But Trump comes out and he says, we're going to go back in 2 weeks. We're going to go back to having our rallies. How good is that for the country? How good is that for the right? How good is that for the Trump campaign? And ultimately, what does that say to the culture of America at large to say, screw you, if you're going to get together, we're going to get together?
Yeah. What's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Mm-hmm.
And I think these rallies are going to be more packed and more energized than ever before. I can't tell you how many people I've talked to and the data I've seen that shows literally probably millions of people swinging over to the Trump side, independents, even center-left people that are like, defund the police. What is going on?
Yeah.
So myself personally, I grew almost actually over 200,000 followers on Instagram alone in the last couple weeks. I know people like Charlie Kirk, Candace Owens, a typical liberal, Graham Allen. They've also grown hundreds and hundreds of thousands. That's very unusual for that to happen in that short of amount of time. And to me, it indicates a massive underswell of quiet people, right? You want to talk about the silent majority. We're actually pretty loud, but people are kind of just keeping their heads low right now. No one really likes to get involved in the racial stuff. And I think deep down, everyone kind of agrees that, or frankly agrees that what happened to George Floyd was in fact a murder. But people are like, they're really fed up with what they're seeing. And, Trump is like, smart by him. Hey, you guys want, to have tens of thousands of people in the street and everyone thinks it's okay. Trump rallies are back on. Let's go. It's back to business. Let's take this country back.
Yeah. And I think you're right. I think that it's going to be mass swells of crowd. They just thought they were large before. It's going to be just absolutely massive. The power of memes, the power of social media, you obviously are a master of that. You've taken that meme war, if you will. I mean, you were a founding father in a big way. That's the way I see you anyway. You were at the forefront of that battle. How important is that method of communication in this political temperature right now?
Well, thank you for those kind words. I try and all I try and do is ignite the spark of patriotism in every other American. I believe we're born with it. I believe we're taught what it is, when we're kids with the Revolutionary War and, the Boston Tea Party. We have it. And frankly, we just like to go about our lives. We like to, be happy and do well at our jobs and take care of our families. And we don't really want to get involved in the politics. But there are moments in our country's history where we have to stand up, where we have to get very loud and fight back. This is one of those moments. Socialism is banging at the door. I personally, I was an entertainment attorney in Hollywood for many years, and I was unable to voice my opinion. I couldn't even post things on Facebook after Trump got elected, and it frustrated me. And I've always believed in the power of memes. I noticed, especially being in LA, the funniest trending memes I would see on Instagram were being filtered down to daily culture. Yeah. Right. So you might remember in like 2014, 2015, there were these memes about how, pizza and wine and like all the girls were loving pizza and wine. It was all they could talk about. That started with memes. And so I noticed, I said, okay, these memes, I don't, it's a picture, it's entertaining, it's info. Why don't we do that for politics? Why don't we do that for conservatism, patriotism? And, my biggest follower base is young people. Yeah. It's teenagers. It's people in their 20s. There's kids that follow me, frankly, that are in middle school, which is a little scary. Yeah. But this is how we talk to them. A lot of young people, it's not that they're opposed to conservatism, it's that they're not exposed to it. Right. And you're not going to win them over by showing them charts and data and saying, this is why lower taxes will benefit X, Y, Z. No, you have to have an emotional aspect to it. And that is where memes come in. So if I can make you laugh or make you upset or make you happy or something, but also it has an underlying political message, then that's all I want to do. I want to just share the truth, put the best ideas I can out there, and then people are free to decide whether they agree with them or not. But what I've noticed is that a lot of people, when they see these memes, when they see these ideas, they tend to like them more than what they're hearing on the left.
There you go. DC Drano, follow him at DC Drano on Instagram. You will not be disappointed, and I'm sure most of you are already followed him. Come on, get out there and do it. Rogan, thanks for joining us, buddy. Appreciate you. I hope to see you soon, man.
Thank you, Chad. God bless.
You too, brother. You thought we were done. We're not done. I told you, I promised you I was going to tell you why Joe Biden. Why Joe Biden? Joe Biden can't finish a sentence, much less run for president effectively. Why Joe Biden? Well, let me tell you why. If, and it's a big if, this event happened, that the power brokers took and made a movement out of it, and trust me, it's a movement right now. The media is making money off of it, so they're going to keep driving it. Why not Joe Biden? Everybody knows that it's all about the VP pick. Well, all Joe Biden's got to do is pick Stacey Abrams. All Joe Biden has to do is pick Kamala Harris. He picks a woman of color, a female of color. He's a shoo-in. Or at least he's going to be heavy competition for a Donald Trump. It's time to take a stand. You've got to see through the illusion, folks. You've seen enough movies. I shouldn't have to convince you that much. And I'm probably a million miles away from reality, but it gives you something to think about, because I'm telling you, there's some things here that just aren't on the up and up. There's an ideology that fuels everything here. There's an ideology. Tomorrow night on the Chad Prather Show, I'm going to show you the ideologies, the things which fuel all of this stuff, because everybody's got one. The black community has an ideology. The white community has an ideology. The Asian community. It doesn't matter about race. The people with a lot of money, they have an ideology. People that are broke, they have an ideology. They all have a certain idea about the way the world works, and they interpret everything through that paradigm. Tomorrow, we're going to work on getting rid of some of our toxic ideology. I don't want to live in an unjust society. I don't think you do either. I don't know anybody that hates another person because of the color of their skin or wouldn't hire somebody on that basis. I don't know those people. That's not the 21st century that I live in. Maybe that's my ideology. We'll see. I want you to know I love you. I appreciate you listening to the ramblings of a guy with an ugly mustache. I don't know. It's kind of handsome. There it is. Boom. And I appreciate you guys tuning in constantly on the Chad Prather Show. Here's what I want you to do. Go to watchchad.com. You can check out all the fun stuff. I also want you to go to blazetv.com/Chad. I want you to sign up so that you don't miss any of the Blaze programming, especially in days like these days. And then head over to Apple Podcasts, find the Chad Prather Show, leave us a rating and a review. It is a huge help for us. And then I want you to go love each other, because I love y'all. God bless. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.